cover all our financial matters, property purchases, and give the best value in whatever we do for our members. We plan to have the new Constitution and Procedure Manual ready early next year for members' viewing, critique and suggestion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Angela. That was fantastic. Can I now ask Christopher Ross to introduce the next speaker?
Our next speaker is Melina Malos, one of our young Ethereans of whom we are all very proud. She lives in Queensland. She's a writer, researcher, US of A. Catch the Cat is Melina's first book for children, and it endeavours to inspire young readers to share in the kithera of her childhood, all the way from the Maroon State, Miss Melina Malos.
I'm delighted to be here today to talk to you about a project that's very close to my heart, and that's connecting children with kithera. So today there's a flyer that's going around. You could all take a read and then pass it on to the person next to you. It's called Catch That Cat. And I really wanted to, before I get started on the presentation, I want you to go back in time as children and think about, particularly those who are Australian born and American born, and think about what were you told about kithera as a child. And I'd love for people to respond and to share with everyone here what they remember learning about kithera. Do you remember learning about festivals, for example, or Panayia Merkidiotisa, or the village that your ancestors were from? These were some of the main inspirations for the book. So, why a book about kithera for children? These were the three central questions that I wanted children to think about when reading the book. Who am I in terms of my background, my history, my culture? Where am I from? What part of Greece am I from, and what makes that unique? And where do I belong? How can I make a contribution to the Etherean community and culture in my city? So they were really the three main aims that I wanted to think about when developing the text for the book. And just as I was looking around this morning and looking at some of the paraphernalia that advertises the Etherean Symposium, words like genealogy and culture and heritage, those aims that we're all here today, they're really what this book is aiming to instill in children from a very young age. And it's also acting as a tool to help adults talk about kithera with their children and grandchildren. So meet Aphrodite. She's the protagonist of the story, and she's a very mischievous cat. She gets on in terms of lots of different adventures throughout the book. And the inspiration behind the story was actually my auntie's cat, Canela, or Cinnamon in English. And she was an Athenian cat who travelled with my auntie, who's my father's sister, who lives in Athens. And unbeknownst to her, she was going to be left on kithera just to live the rest of her days. So she had to adapt from being an Athenian cat to becoming a Potamos cat. So she would disappear during the day and come back at night when she wanted to eat something. So she's really responsible for the story. And here are just some images of Aphrodite. And she's really the tool that connects the different villages together throughout the story. So the story is pitched for very young children from 3 to 6 years of age. And it starts off in Potamos, in the house where Yaya and Alessa, the other two main characters of the book, start to talk about a story about Aphrodite when she suddenly smashes a vase and flees out the door and sets off on her adventure. And the whole, I guess the main message of the book is that you can go wandering all over Kithiroa, or you can go and travel, but there's really no place like home, and coming back home to your roots is what's really important. And as you can see, what is really crucial to a good children's story is the illustrations. And I really can't thank George Poulos enough for introducing me to Teti Solos, who's the illustrator who's done the work for this book. She just knows how to capture that sense of fun and imagination and curiosity of the cat, and also of the essence of Kithiroa, the colours that she's used, the texture. She isn't from Kithiroa, but she went this summer in July and spent quite a lot of time visiting each location for the book and paying really careful attention to the places and the landmarks and the villages. And this is a photo of Teti. She's also done some other work for the Kithirian World Heritage Fund. She's translated 3 books by the writer Lefthalios Hearn, and they're available for sale here today at the book stand. So if you'd like to read some Greek writings by Lefthalios Hearn, they're available. And I've just included for you the main villages that are covered in the story. When I spoke earlier about what we remember as children about Kithiroa, I know I remember learning about Panayirma Didiotissa, hearing about some of the ghost stories at Baliohora, the lost city in Scandia, Avlemonos, the lovely fishing village, Hora, of course, the capital. So these were, and Kapsali, some of these iconic images that come to mind when we think about Kithiroa. And I'm just going to show you a selection of some of the pictures. We have Meraida, and got some of the water nymphs around her. Avlemonas. And this is some divers in Scandia trying to find some buried treasure. So throughout the book, while Aphrodite is on her adventures, nights and days pass, and we come back and see Alessa and Yaya wondering what's happened to her and how she'll find her way home. So there's a dialogue between the cat and what's going back home in terms of Alessa trying to see how she can bring Aphrodite back home. And then as Alessa continues her journey, this is on top of the Castro, overlooking Kapsali Bay, and Aphrodite's gone and wreaked havoc in this creperie that's been based on the Vanilla creperie at Kapsali, and she's hidden away in one of the cannons. Throughout the book, there's also these little dream sequences where Aphrodite starts to miss home and starts to remember the best parts of being at home. And here she is thinking about Alessa tickling her, and this is where the story starts to lead Aphrodite to finding a way back home. And we've also included the festival of the Panayirma Didiotissa, the icon being paraded on the 15th of August, and the cat on the top of the roof of the church, overlooking the scenery. So as you can see, Catch That Cat is for very young children. It's for 3 to 6 year olds. It's for their parents and their grandparents. It's for teachers and schools to be able to share in Greek culture and heritage. And it's a vehicle for promoting conversation about our roots and also appeal to children's sense of fun and imagination. The book also has these other lovely features which Angelo mentioned. It is going to have a Greek translation at the back of the book with the English alongside. So there'll be smaller thumbnails of each of the pictures in the book with the Greek beside, so young children can start to learn some of the Greek words. There'll also be a map of Kythera. This is an indicative map, but there'll be paw prints that plot Aphrodite's journey with illustrations of the locations that she travels to. And there'll also be a summary of each of the villages that's highlighted in the book.